How to apply the divine masculine and divine feminine principle. The divine masculine and divine feminine, or the gender principle, is an often talked about but woefully misunderstood esoteric concept. The average person thinks of it in literal terms of male and female. If you think of it in literal terms, you will completely miss the practical and powerful application of this ancient Egyptian principle. In this article, you will learn how the idea of divine masculine and divine feminine has been misapplied. You will learn what the divine masculine and divine feminine are beyond a literal interpretation. You will learn how the divine masculine and divine feminine can be applied in daily life. What is the divine masculine and divine feminine? The first key to applying the divine masculine and divine feminine is to recognize it is only related to male and female via metaphor and analogy. Male and female are representations of the principle on the physical plane. The way to view them conceptually is in terms of the male and female anatomy as analogies. The female womb is inside of her and hidden from view. Being inside the body, the womb is in the dark and hidden from sight. The male penis is outside the body and in plain sight for all to see. It's in the light of day if not covered and clothed. Looking at the divine masculine and divine feminine principle from an anatomical perspective should give you insight into how the principle can be applied. For example, on a mental plane, both masculine and feminine aspects of the mind are present in all of creation. Both are present in men and women. Thinking in terms of analogy to the womb, the feminine is receptive, desire, inner-directed. It is the receiver of the seed or impulse to create. All things are incubated within the feminine aspect, or the Great Mother. The universe was born out of darkness, or hidden, the feminine aspect. Another deeper way to see this is the universe came from within the mind of the Creator. The universe is the outward or masculine visible aspect of creation. Masculine is active, driven, outwardly directed, and visible. It's the active seed that seeks a receptive feminine host. If there is to be growth or change within any experience, the masculine principle is being exercised. It is expansion to the open and known in the light or visible aspect. When we think of masculine and aggressive, we usually attach a negative connotation to it. However, this is a misunderstanding of aggression. Consider that without the masculine active or driven principle, a flower would not burst from its bud. A mother could not birth a child into the world. An angry outburst can clear the air of your energy. In order for any change to take place, aggression is necessary to break stasis. When we bound up aggression is when there can be negative consequences. This is what we see too often in society today. It's the masculine principle that has been bound, bottled up, and confined that finally bursts onto the scene. Think about how men are socialized not to be emotional and stay under control. Man up means to not show emotion, but the energy has to manifest in some way. A direct relation to the man up idea is homophobia within men. To be looked at in any way as being feminine is seen as a threat to masculinity. Being emotional is being like a woman. Gay men are often seen as the example of men being too feminine and takes the brunt of men being afraid of their own emotions. What does it say about how men relate to women? Her emotions are not respected. Women can be seen as too emotional. In both cases, it's the socialization of and lack of respect for our inner-directed emotional aspect that too many men have issues with. In other words, it's what the ancients call the divine feminine. It's not aggression or the masculine principle that's the issue. It's when the energy has been bound up and then it breaks through and manifests in a violent expression. It's often confusing when we use the idea of dark as negative when we consider the feminine as metaphorically in the dark. Hopefully, recognizing the allegorical application concerning the hidden aspect of a female womb will clear this up. Dark is not a reference to negative, and light is not automatically good when we reference the divine masculine and divine feminine. They are a metaphorical reference to the anatomy, not a judgment of good and evil. For example, an overactive feminine expression in a male or female can be symbolized by depression. You turn in on yourself. Sometimes in order to rise from depression, one has to get angry and do something about it. Being active, aggression, or passive, depression, can have negative consequences if taken to either extreme. The light is good and dark is negative do not apply when expressing the idea of divine masculine and divine feminine. To do so is a misapplication of knowledge, and quite frankly, a male bias. In Kemet, or pre-dynastic Egypt, the masculine principle within the human mind was called Tudi, or Thoth. Through this netter, or principle of nature, came writing and language and mathematics. It's the ability of the human mind to act and produce into the physical world its thoughts, ideas, and imagination. The feminine counterpart of Tudi was called Sashet. Through Sashet, we have memories, past lives, imagination, visualization, ideas, etc. All of these activities are done inside your mind or within you. You always use both. One side cannot exist without the other. A practical example is when we come up with the great idea that we turn into a business, or what an architect puts on a blueprint and becomes a building. The idea is first formed inside the mind or feminine aspect of the mind. In writing this blog article, I continuously went back and forth between the masculine and feminine principles of Tudi and Sashet. I had to think of the idea I wanted to express, Sashet, and then type it up, Tudi. The Cometians understood these principles like no other society before it or since. The Neteru are a balancing act, weaving themselves in and throughout nature. One is not better than the other. They're not individuated singular entities. The symbols used were male and female to invoke the known from the unknown. In other words, to understand the universe through corresponding aspects of our being and daily experience. One way to apply the divine feminine is to sit quietly and meditate or visualize an idea. Then listen to the guidance of that inner voice. Be you man or woman, this is use of your divine feminine or inward directed mind. Then take action on that guidance in the best way that inspires you. Taking action is one way to apply the divine masculine. In conclusion, it is a fallacy to think of divine masculine and divine feminine in terms of male and female. It goes much deeper. Don't get stuck at the literal level when studying the netters. They are universal laws or principles expressed poetically and personified to help you gain insight into their power and application. The Egyptian principle of Tudi is outwardly directed action of the human mind. It's the representation of the divine masculine in the physical. It is left-brained and logical. The Egyptian principle of Sashet is the inwardly directed activity of the human mind. It can connect to multiple dimensions of experience, like remembering something in the past or thinking of something in the future. If you're daring, connect to past lives or future lives. She is right-brained, creative, and intuitive. Sashet is an often underutilized tool. The Cometians understood that from within us is the universe, and from within springs all experience, just as the universe sprang from the netter of netters, aka the creator, God, source, etc. Know thyself, and you will know the gods. Cometian proverb.